The Warfare Evolution update is here, and there's a whole load of new exciting things for us to check out, including some very big surprises. Starting off with features added in this update, here you can see two fans. The first one is me, who is a big fan of this update, and the second is behind me. But this isn't just a big fan. If we turn it to its side, this is also a new thruster. These are called flat atmospheric thrusters, and there are 4 different variants of them. Like the other thrusters in the game, there's a small and large version of each of the thrusters, and with these new flat thrusters, there's also a squared variant and a rounded variant for you to use. The flat atmospheric thruster are way more compact than other thrusters in the game, being well, flat, but also produce less thrust than a normal atmospheric thruster. I do have to say, these are by far the most visually interesting thrusters we have gotten in the game, and as they're part of the update, everyone will get a chance to try them out. It's a good time to be a rover enjoyer in Space Engineers, as Warfare Evolution also includes a series of new blocks called the short wheel suspensions, which are more compact than the normal suspensions currently in the game. Because these are much more compact, they allow you to build much smaller and more compact rovers than before, something I personally will be taking advantage of. There has also been another improvement to wheels in the game, in the form of their collision. As shown here, they've changed the collision of the wheels in this update to allow you to place blocks much closer to the wheels, so you can add that extra detail to your ships and rovers. A new series of round armor panels has been added to complete the armor panels that are currently in the game, and you can see a great example of how you can use these here. A vanilla version of the button panel pedestal from the Heavy Industry DLC has been added to the base game, and there is also a variant that has a control panel on it as well. When I've used button panels in the past, I've always been really annoyed that you have to have these 4 buttons on them, so it's a welcome change to have a button panel with just 1 button. They've also added some new warning signs in this update, mostly to do with AI. However, one of them is just an arrow for indicating directions. Just like how this arrow is pointing below the video to direct you to click that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. The update also includes a new scenario called Space Standoff, which we will of course be covering in a future video, so don't forget to join the Discord if you want to join in on that. Before we go over the additional blocks added in the DLC, this update also includes a bunch of changes to the game, including a whole host of bug fixes and performance improvements. I always see people in my comments talking about the game needing performance improvements rather than new stuff, so why not both? It says in the changelog that in larger worlds, performance has been improved by up to 60%, which is a big deal as more stable larger worlds means more players can play together at a time. Improvements have also been made to the AI added in the automatons update, and they've also reiterated that they will continue to update and evolve the AI in future updates. So, if there's a specific AI feature you would like in the game, don't forget to put a request in on the Keen forums. And speaking of niche requests, one thing I've complained about in the past about Space Engineers was the inconsistencies with the ricochet projectiles in the game. And in this update, they've improved this feature, meaning that your shot should more reliably ricochet off blocks if you hit them at certain angles. A major improvement in this update relates to the third-person camera when piloting ships. In the past, if you dock to a larger grid, you'd be zoomed out to view the entire ship or station that you're docked to, which, let's say, wasn't very convenient. It's very useful to see the ship I'm in before I take off, if, hypothetically, I forgot to turn my thrusters on before I disconnected. That's never happened to me, obviously, though. It could happen to anyone, just, definitely not me. You can see an example here of this change, and you can also see the other improvements that have been made to the third-person camera, where instead of putting you in first person when you get too close to another ship, it instead zooms in the third-person camera, still allowing you to see around your ship. Whilst this probably isn't the most exciting change, I can guarantee this will be one of the most useful and impactful changes from this update, as it majorly improves this aspect of the game. There's also been some minor improvements to the interface of the game. When selecting a block that does not have a large or small grid variant, when you have that grid size selected, the icon it will show will be NA to show that you cannot use that block at that size. Assembler categories have been updated, most notably with separate categories for weapons and ammo. Weapons and ammo have also been reordered by tier to show the upgrade paths of each of the weapons. So I guess that begs the question, more weapons when? There's also so many more changes in this update that I haven't shown in this video, so don't forget to check the full changelog out to see all of them. But now, let's have a look at the very exciting additions in Decorative Pack 3. Every time a DLC comes out for Space Engineers, I'm like, they can't possibly make this better than the last one, and then the DLC comes out, and it is. As with most DLCs, we get a new armor texture, the war-worn armor. Not war-torn, war-worn. Those are very different things. This armor texture features lots of damage details on it to make it look like your ships have been in battle and received lots of damage. All the armor textures we've gotten make a massive difference to the look of your ships, and I'm sure this one will see a lot of use in the future. The new cockpit we were teased last week is called the Cab Cockpit, and this new cockpit is very cool looking and also very compact. If you look inside the cockpit, there's a lot of detail in a very small space, but also there's barely enough space for an engineer to fit in here. All I'm saying is don't have a crash while you're in this cockpit, as, well, you know. We have new cosmetic variants of the solar panel and wind turbines. This is called the twin-bladed wind turbine, and whilst it's bigger than the vanilla turbine, it generates the same amount of power as the vanilla one, just looking a lot cooler in the process. The new solar panels are called the colourable solar panels, and as you can imagine, they're colourable. Who could have thought? They come in 3 different variants, a rectangular one and 2 corner ones, and even if they weren't colourable, these look way better than their vanilla counterparts. Because these are more structural than the vanilla solar panels, I think I might just put these on my ships for cosmetic detailing, something you'd have previously struggled to do with the previous big blue monstrosities of the vanilla solar panels. In the middle of these solar panels, there's this kind of scaffolding between them, and speaking of which, this update also adds new scaffolding blocks. In the past, I know people use unwelded blocks to add this kind of detail to their ships, and now you can use these instead. The advantage of these, aside from the fact they look way better than welded blocks, is that you can walk through the gaps in them, very much like real life scaffolding. Be careful though, as when you're near scaffolding, you have to mind out for falling objects. The falling object you just saw there was an explosive barrel. This is one of a couple new barrels that were added, 3 of which are on conveyed storage like the freight block, and the 4th functions as a mini warhead. One of my favourite blocks in this is the cargo crate, which was shown in the original teaser for this update. Like the barrels, this is an unconveyed storage container, but this block has a unique feature of having an opening door, something that was previously only available on the access panels. I hope in the next few updates we get more blocks with interactive elements like this block, as these kinds of blocks are quickly becoming my favourite ones in the game. The round beacon is round. A round beacon, if you will. It looks much nicer than the vanilla one, and I really like the little aerials that poke out the top, rather than the weird satellite dish the other one had. Also, it's round, and a beacon. A couple of new LCDs have been added as well. There's the Holo LCD, which technically isn't an LCD in the strictest sense, but who really cares about those semantics? Oh wait, the comment section exists. Holo LCDs project holograms with the classic Star Wars distortion effect on them, and as they're holograms you can walk straight through them. I'm sure people are already working on evil uses for these, like fake walls amongst other things, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how people use them like that. There's a curved LCD variant, much like those warriors from Hammerfell, and there's also a sloped LCD variant as well, so now you can have your LCD screens in any orientation. There's also an inset LCD, which is a full block version of the LCD that you can place, and because it's a full block, and not a panel that you have to place onto another block, this means you have more freedom to place blocks in front of it and around it. This isn't the only inset block added though, as there's a whole host of them to go through later in the video. But first, they did it guys. They finally added 2 things that players have been asking for many years to the game. Number 1, more animals have been added to the game. And number 2, after many years of asking, they finally added water inside this new aquarium block. The inset aquarium is one of those new inset block I mentioned, and it features lots of little fish swimming around in the water inside of it. It turns out water does exist in the Space Engineers universe. And look, I found him. It only took 20 years. There's also an inset kitchen as shown here, and I should mention that a lot of these inset blocks have different details on each of the sides, like the kitchen has on this side here. And another example is the inset couch, which whilst it has a bench on this side, has a little terrarium on this side as well. Whilst the inset kitchen and the inset couch are just 2 blocks, because of the different things on each side, it gives you much more opportunities to detail your ships with them. There's also the inset button panel, which as you can imagine, has buttons on it that you can program. And there's also an inset cryo room, which is just way better than the vanilla cryo chamber. The inset entertainment corner is basically an inset jukebox as far as I can see, but it also has lots of little details on it, like the MXS and MGW consoles, whatever those are. So, Space Engineers is available for PC, Xbox and PlayStation. When is it coming to MGW, Keen? When can I play Space Engineers in Space Engineers? The inset bookshelf has lots of interesting books on it, like this book here telling you how to spell clang the correct way. And there's also a book here that shares with you all the secrets of the monoliths. Unfortunately, we can't read any of these books in-game. Believe me, I've tried. You'll just have to wait until my video where I tell you the true secret of the monoliths. There's 3 new inset bed blocks, my favourite of which being the open variant, as, due to their open nature, you can use these to create some sort of barracks with them, as all the other bed variants are limited to being next to a wall. Whilst not a new inset block, there's also a new corner medical room, which, like most of the cosmetic variants of blocks, looks way better than the vanilla version. Just look at this thing, it's just better in every way. It's also worth mentioning that this variant only has conveyor ports on the back, as the vanilla version of the medical room only has ports on the top and the bottom. Although if I'm honest, this is basically another improvement, as it was really annoying to have to connect it at the top and the bottom. And it being a corner medical room, it's also airtight at the back, where the vanilla one isn't. Let me know which of the blocks in this update are your favourite, and as always, like this video and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos like this one. A special thanks to The Wildcat, Quirty the Pro Gregor, Hamish917, Summit, Tarantula Fudge, Pascal, Roland Red Sky, Death Valley Dave, and Darker Matter. If you want to support the channel, there's a join button below this video, and there's also a link to my Patreon in the description below.